If you constantly feel busy, but not really all that productive, well, we should talk more about that. Well, hello friends, I'm Mary Beth with At What Cost, where simple living and deep faith go hand in hand. And if you too have scoured the internet for productivity tips, but you just feel like you keep coming up short, like you're not actually any more productive, I have gathered up my 7 best tips today to share with you on how to be a highly productive working mom. My first tip is that we should be swapping guilt for grace. As a working mom myself, I often feel very guilty that I have not done enough, that I've not been patient enough or present enough. I had to work late, or there were some things that my kids couldn't participate in because I wasn't going to be off work in time to go and pick them up, or there wasn't somebody else that could help out. The truth is, there's just not enough hours in the day to get all of the things that we would want to get done with our kids done. There's never going to be enough time that we will be able to spend with them. There are always going to be things competing for our attention. Even if we were not working moms, we still would likely feel like we are not having quality time with our kids. I want to invite you to let go of that guilt and embrace God's grace. We were built with limitations. We were built so that we would need Him. We wouldn't be able to do all of the things. And beating ourselves up about not being able to meet all of our own expectations is not actually going to lead us to a more productive time. But resting in God's grace can actually be a way to free ourselves from the guilt and the shame and all of the constraints and really enjoy the time that we have with our kids. What really dictates how they feel about their childhood in adulthood is what happened more often than not. So if more often than not, your kids find you kind of wallowing in your guilt because you didn't get all the things that you needed to done, they're going to kind of take that away, that mom felt most of our childhood that she was guilty of not spending time with us. Or they can see us embracing the time that we do have, being productive, making the most out of the time that we do have with them, and really having that good quality time when we're able. Now, minimalism truly went a long way in eliminating a lot of that guilt and causing my time to just open up. I wasn't spending a lot of my time chasing things around in my home, and I could actually spend that quality time with my kids, but we're going to talk more about that in the next tip. Tip number 2 is to budget your time. This is a tough topic that I have faced. It's one that I frequently hear about on the channel here, that you feel guilty, again, these all tie together, you feel guilty that you're taking time to declutter your home instead of spending that time with your children. Decluttering time is sort of like quiet time. It's a time warp. Whatever time you put into that, you ultimately get back. Now, we can often try to choose the wrong times to do some of these tasks. We may get really frustrated in the moment that we can't find shoes or clothes or toys or any of the things, or we can't get dinner on the table. We get really frustrated in that moment and we want to make changes right then. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has had a sort of rage purge over not being able to get the things that I wanted to done. But that's not always the best time for us to do that decluttering. It's not always the most productive time for us to do that decluttering. We want to schedule that time. Look at your overall calendar. What days do you have things planned? What days at work do you have a lot of meetings that might kind of drain your capacity to do some of those things when you get home from work? Or is there a Saturday a month that you can set aside to do 2 hours of decluttering? Budget out your time and keep in mind that in the early stages of adjusting to a lifestyle that has a lot less, you may find yourself spending more time decluttering. But again, you get that time back. Once you have freed up your home and you can spend more quality time with your kids, the days of decluttering things are gonna feel like nothing. Now, when I say budget your time, I mean actually sit down and look at all of the time that you have available. Which hours are you going to be working and which hours are you going to be home? What time do you have to devote? And I actually took this a step further when I was considering our kitchen, especially. That was a great place to kind of do this budgeting exercise. I had a certain number of cabinets, and I knew that I could declutter a cabinet in about 15 minutes. I could budget out my time and really have a good idea of how long it was going to take me to actually declutter my kitchen so that I could plan when to schedule those things and how far I was going to get and really feel productive at the end of that session. Now, right along with this, tip number 3, this is probably one of the most important decluttering tips that I can share with working moms. Focus on your pain points. So a pain point is something that is actually causing you some pain. I know, it's not a hard concept. For me, my pain points were laundry, my kitchen, and toys. Those were the 3 areas of my home that caused me the most grief. I always had laundry piled up. My kids' toys were always all over the place and they never seemed to play with them. And my kitchen, well, it was a disaster most of the time. As I went through our laundry and I reduced down the number of things that we had, it freed up time for me to then focus on decluttering toys. Once I got the toys decluttered and my kids were a little bit more easily entertained by what they did have, it freed up time for me to be able to do the kitchen. It's like the most productive if you give a mouse a cookie scenario that you could ever find. Focus on the things that are taking up a lot of your time, that are causing you a lot of stress. And as you reduce those, your capacity will expand for you to move into other areas of your home. As a working mom, this is the only way that I have been able to declutter 85% of the belongings in our home. I did several challenges, especially in those first years that I was really decluttering, and I would try and do the minimalism game, or I would follow whatever group was doing a specific room or area, but I never really got that good, solid, productive time because my thoughts were always somewhere else, or I felt like I didn't have the time to devote to it because I was always chasing laundry or toys or my kitchen around. Focus on those pain points and free up the time that you have to be productive in other areas. Tip number 4. Fill your cup. This is sort of like the oxygen masks on the plane. You know, you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help others. As a working mom, I feel like I need to serve everyone in my home and I want to pour myself out for them, but you can't pour from an empty cup. Some of the most productive time that I have is when I start with a full cup. So how do we fill our cup? Well, first, I think it's an actual like filling of the cup. If you start with a coffee in the morning, then start with a coffee in the morning. I will always advocate for you to fill that cup. But the cup I'm really talking about is your spiritual cup. This is the cup that you fill when you spend time in God's word and in prayer, and you really lay your burdens down at His feet. I prioritize this time in my home. I have it before all of my kids get up, and I know what you're saying. I know, I can hear it. I can hear you in the comments already. I'm not a morning person. I get up when my kids get up. Well, those are things that you can actually change. I would put myself in that camp until a few years ago. My husband started getting up really early for work, earlier than I would actually have ever thought that I would get up in the morning. And I was getting up alongside him initially because I don't know about you, but my husband is not the most quiet person in the morning. And so it would wake me up. And at one point I just kind of figured, well, I'm already up. I might as well do my Bible study now when I'm feeling my most alert. It's almost a way of giving God the first fruits of your time, your attention, your day. By spending time in the Word and in prayer, I get that renewal. I can talk to God about the things that I'm anticipating for the day that are going to cause me grief or stress. I can ask for Him to give me peace. I can talk through those things, and I can hear Him speak to me through His word. And it fills my cup so that I am then able to pour out for others. We want to be productive in the right direction. I can be really productive in tearing my family down if I'm trying to pour from an empty cup. Tip number 5, and I know this is a little redundant, but it bears repeating: quality over quantity. Our time is limited. We do not have all day, every day to spend with our children or our families and making home and all of these things. Our time is limited. If you are a working mom, you probably have set work hours and tasks that you have to get done and things that you're responsible for. You have agreed to work for this place. They have agreed to pay you, and you need to fill your obligations. I get it. But outside of that time, we want to have good quality time with our family. When it is time to stop working, very highly productive working moms stop working. Now, I work for an agency outside of our home, but I do work from my home. I treat my workday like any other workday. I go to my office, I'm at my office, I stay there, I do my work, I come out of my office at lunchtime, I have a lunch, and then I go right back into my office. And when it's time for me to be done with work, I'm done with work. Now, that doesn't mean that occasionally I don't have to work over to get some things done, but for the most part, I schedule my day and I stick to that schedule because I want my kids to have good quality time with me when they get home. So as they're getting off the bus and coming in, I'm not distracted with phone calls and projects and things that I'm trying to get done. And this can be hard, especially if you work from home. I know there are many of us now that are working from home more and more. We have our smartphones and our laptops, and everything can feel like it's in our face. Be diligent about budgeting out your time and ending your workday when your workday ends. This also means that while you are at work, you are spending good quality time at work. We're not distracted by social media or tasks or our minds wandering. We have filled our cup in the morning. We are ready to get down to business. We want to give God our all because we know that we're not just working for this company, but we are working for the Lord. We are serving Him in our work. So be good and productive at your work. Give your job the quality time that it deserves so that you can then give your quality time to your family. Tip number 6, be ruthless. I know this is a hard one, especially because we just studied in our Wednesday night Bible study, we just studied 1 Peter where it talks about having a gentle and quiet spirit. And to be ruthless feels a little counterintuitive to that. But let me clarify, I'm not talking about being ruthless with your family. Do not be ruthless with your family. Have a gentle and quiet spirit like the Lord calls us to. But when it comes to other things in your home, your schedule, the things that you devote your time to, the stuff that you manage in your home, be ruthless. You are the mom. You are the manager of your home and your things, and you can tell it how best to work for you. I know that you can do this. I have faith in you and I am rooting for you. Be ruthless. If you are not using that item anymore, out it goes. If you do not want that item anymore, out it goes. If you have an activity that is causing a lot of stress in your family, out it goes. Be ruthless. You only have a certain number of hours in your week that you can plug other things into, and we want to be very cognizant of what we are doing. Getting all of those kind of time burners out of our schedule is going to help you be the most productive mom that you can be. Tip number 7, compromise when you can and where you can. This might mean having to say no to some extra things that people have asked you to do. This might also mean saying yes to some things that people are asking you to do. Let me give you an example here. So our youngest son has a ton of energy. He is always on the go. And it's hard for me to get him involved in sports and things like that that take up a lot of time commitment during the week where I have to run him around and there's things on the weekends. It's just hard for our family to do that. But they have a running club at his school and it meets directly after school a couple of days a week, and his school is not far from our home. So I compromised my no extracurricular activities during the week kind of rule and signed him up for this running club. This was a compromise because it means that I have to add something to my schedule, but he gets the benefit of being involved in something. It also takes him out of the house a couple of days a week, where I don't know about you, but I have 3 kids. If I take one of those kids out of the mix, the other 2 are fine. It doesn't matter which 2 it is, but as long as there's only 2 of them, they're good. They can entertain themselves. There's no fighting, or at least there's minimal fighting. And I don't have to work quite as hard to referee everyone. But adding that 3rd kid in, I don't know what it is. It just blows it all up. So having him involved in something where he can get some energy out, he's learning about teamwork, and he's out of our house for those little bits of time have really been beneficial in being productive in the rest of that time when I am home. I'm not refereeing kids and having to kind of manage everyone so that I can get dinner started, help the other 2 boys with the things that they need. And so then the rest of the week when he is at home, I can devote a little bit more time to him because I have gotten some of these other things done. But there are some things that we just have to make compromises on. We have to say no to certain things, and this can be hard. If I said yes to everything, that same son would be signed up for something every single day of the week. He would just continue to go and go and go and go. And I love that ambition. I can relate to that ambition. I often want to put too many things on my plate. But in order to stay productive and give good quality work, I've got to limit the things that I have to do. Compromising where you can, when you can, may also mean that you select a couple of convenience meals during the week. You know, maybe you have frozen pizza once a week, or maybe you decide that every Wednesday is breakfast night at your home. I have a friend who we've just started the Spilling the Tea podcast, my friend Carrie. She declares every Wednesday night breakfast for dinner at her house because it's easy and they have someplace they need to be on Wednesday nights. So compromise in the areas that you can, when you can, so that you can get the most productive time out of your time. But I want to encourage you today, there will never be a shortage of things for you to do. It just isn't the way the world works. There are many things that are going to claim to be the most important thing, and there are many times when we're going to feel guilty about the things that we didn't get done. But I want to encourage you today that you were made with limitations and that God is enough to help you be the most productive person that you can be. If you are striving to walk in His will and to glorify Him and honor Him in all that you do, you will be the most productive working mom that you could ever be. And if you're still watching, you know that it's family time. Well, hello family. I don't have a whole lot of funny stories for you this time. I usually have some like crazy shenanigans that are happening in our house, but I just don't. So I want to give you a little bit of a life update and kind of talk about where I have been on this channel and ask for a little bit of help from you. So things have gotten very busy in our home. They just never seem to not be busy, and some things have had to take a back burner, and one of those things has been this channel. Now, I did take a week-long vacation in Mexico with some very good girlfriends, and that was incredibly restorative, but sometimes the fallout of taking those trips and being gone is like it takes us a good 2 or 3 weeks to recover. I would have liked to have gotten ahead of schedule with videos, but I just could not do it. There were so many things putting demands on my time that it just is what it is. So I am swapping guilt for grace here on this YouTube channel, but I need your help with something. I don't know why, other than I have not been making as many videos as I typically have been, but our subscriber numbers are steadily going down. I don't know if there is something happening with the algorithm or if people truly are just unsubscribing. But if you are still watching, will you hit that subscribe button? Will you look and see if you are subscribed to this channel? It really does help not just boost our videos to be able to go out to other people, but it really is encouraging to me to see those numbers going up. I would love to grow this channel. I know there are more people out there like us, and the more that you like, subscribe, comment, all of those things, the more YouTube will push these videos out. So if you are not yet subscribed, I would love for you to subscribe. If you were subscribed and you're not subscribed anymore, then hit the subscribe button. And if you've never been subscribed, but you've made it this far in the video, why have you not already hit the subscribe button? You need to be here. This is your place. We're your people. Hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. And until I see you again, keep fighting the good fight.